Hello friends and fellow book lovers. Welcome to my channel again and welcome to another exciting video. It has been a while since I posted a video because I got busy with work. I felt like posting this video because this is something that I wanted to really share with you guys. So there is one genre that I really like from my childhood, which is the comic version of the book or a graphic version. And as I grew older, I started liking more non-fiction. That's another preferred genre of mine. Not very long ago, I found this combination of both these genres that I really like, which is non-fiction graphic books. And once I found that genre, the top 5 authors is what I'm going to talk about today. So like, if you're like me, if you like graphic novels or graphic or a comic format books, and this is something that I'm going to introduce to people who really like nonfiction, and definitely I know that you will love this genre. So without further ado, let's jump into the recommendation. So the first author that I really like and I want to recommend to you guys, he's an American journalist, and also his way of conveying the message very strongly is a graphic format, and that gentleman's name is Joe Sacco. And many of you might have heard of him or not heard of him, but probably he's my number one nonfiction graphic author that I like. So Joe Sacco, his style of sketching is very simple. Normally he uses he never uses color. He just uses black and white ink sketches or pencil sketches. But most importantly, the subjects that he really talks about is what makes his books very special. So he has written several books, but I am going to recommend probably the top 4 books that I like by Joe Sacco. So the first book is actually, it's very relevant to what's happening right now, the conflict that's happening between Israel and the Palestine. So this book was written in 1993. I would say things have not changed much since he wrote this book. So the first book that I'm going to talk about, the title is called Palestine itself. So Joe Sacco, he is a journalist and also kind of like a I wouldn't call him, I think I can call him a war correspondent or a war journalism writer. So he spent some time among the people of Gaza and in the West Bank back in 1991 or 1992 time frame, and he really jotted down the experiences that he had over there from their point of view, and he released this book in a very graphic format, which I really like. It's very poignant and very gut-wrenching and heart-rending. So if you haven't read the book, I strongly suggest that book, the first one. And then the second one is along the same topic, but he went back to Gaza probably 10 or 12 years since he went the last time. And this time he had a mission to understand the Palestinian side of the Suez crisis that happened in 1956. So this is the second book that I'm going to recommend. It's called Footnotes in Gaza. So this is another book that I felt nothing has changed much, even when he went in 2009 time frame. So that's the second book that I'm going to recommend. And then the third book is called Safe Area Gorazde. So this is the conflict that he was involved and reporting was in Bosnia back in 1995. So this is his observation and really the plight of the people who are affected by the conflict in that area. And that's the third book that I'm going to recommend. And then finally, I think the last book came out in 2020. And like Joe Sacco, he always picks topics which are very underreported and also controversial. So this book is called Paying the Land. So this is about the conflict or cost and benefit of development. So this goes back to the northwestern territories of Canada, where you have abundant source of oil, um, gas, and also diamond, and how in extracting those resources from that region really comes in conflict with the indigenous people that are living there, and the tribe or the group is called Dane. I hope I'm pronouncing it correct. Dene. So he goes to that kind of reservation kind of place, and he spends time there and kind of reports how this development, in the name of development, how the lives of those people have been really changed in a bad way, and how alcoholism, drugs, and debts, and how eventually they all were forced to work for these companies that are extracting these resources from that area. Gut wrenching book that I read, how people's lives are changed, and the rest of the world really is not aware of it, or they are very insensitive to it. So Joe Sacco is the first author that I really wanted to recommend to you guys. Now moving on to the second one, he's a French comic artist, and I really like him for the style of sketches that he does. They call him, the style of the sketch is called ligne clair. So if most of you have read the Belgian comics Tintin, so that style is by Herge. That's the style that he uses here as well. So I'm guessing Belgian and Franco-Belgian comic artwork, they prefer, most of them prefer this kind of artwork. So the author's name is Jacques Tardi. So he's a French, like I said, he's a French comic artist. So he has written several books, but the two books that I really like and I loved reading was the first one. I think it was written in 1993. Both the books are about the World War One, and it is from the point of view of the French soldiers who were participating in the World War One. So we call the World War One in other names like War of Inches or War of Trenches, or even War to End All Wars. But this book really captures the very brutal and carnage that happens in the trenches, and it also talks about the other side of this story, which is not the rhetoric normally everybody says, but it really talks about how it's not the war of justice. It was the war to protect the interests of the big guys. And also, there are actually two books. The first book, it was the War of the Trenches. That's the first book that I recommend. And then the second book is Godddamn This War. I think the first one and the second one can be seen as a sequel, but it can be read individually as well. So there is no connection or a plot thing. But both the books are beautifully illustrated, and it really talks about a lot of unknown facts about the World War One trench reality. So the things like how tanks were first introduced in this conflict, and also how from the German side, Fritz Haber, he's a Nobel Prize winner for really discovering the chemical synthesis process for ammonia. But what people don't know is he really used ammonia not only to make fertilizers, but he used it for explosives. And also he is the first guy to really introduce mustard gas and chlorine, like a chemical warfare, which is the dark side of another dark side of this whole scientific experimentation or a validation ground for the World War One trenches. So I strongly recommend this author as well. And then moving on to the third one, he's a Canadian artist, and I really love. He has published so many books, and probably the top 5 books that I like, I will go over them. So the author's name is Guy Delisle. So his style is again very different. It's very similar to the Franco-Belgian comic style, but he adds color to it. What's more interesting is his storytelling way is very different, and also at times very funny. And also he has traveled quite a bit. So what he has done is wherever he stayed as an expat, he captured all his experiences and released it as a book, as an artist. So the first place that he goes to, and then the first book that I really want to recommend is called Pyongyang. So he lives in North Korea for a very short period of time to really work with some of the artists there, comic artists. And he really talks about the not very commonly reported normal life of North Koreans. And I really like that book. So that's the first one. And then the second one, he lives in Jerusalem as well. So this is called Chronicles in Jerusalem. His experiences in that area. And then the third book is called Burma Chronicles. And Burma being it's ruled by a military junta, and how curfews are there, and how people's lives are very restricted and very different. So he really talks about that in this book. The fourth book is called Shenzhen, and this is another travelogue in China that he documents, which I liked it. And then finally, I think he wrote this book maybe 3 years ago. It's called Factory Summers. His experience as a teenager or a high schooler doing his summer job in a local paper factory, which was very interesting. So Guy Delisle, if you haven't read his books, I recommend them very much. And all the 5 or 6 books that I mentioned, they're really good. And then the fourth author is called Derf Backderf. I'm hoping I'm saying his name right. I just randomly came across this American author, but I really love his artwork and the subjects that he picks. The very first book that was very surprising to me and also very interesting, I couldn't even put it down. It's called My Friend Dahmer, a graphic novel. So a lot of us have heard of the very notorious serial killer Dahmer. So what happened, coincidentally, this author was a high school classmate of Dahmer, and he really he's showing us the side that we never get to hear from any sources. So how Dahmer was in school, and how things were seen by other students in the high school, etc. So this was very interesting. So that's another book that I recommend. The first book I recommend, My Friend Dahmer, a graphic novel. And then the second book is called Kent State, 4 Dead in Ohio. So this is a very sensitive topic. So it goes back to the Vietnam era in United States. So back in Vietnam era, all the campuses, they were protesting against the war. And in Kent State in Ohio is where the National Guard opened fire and killed 4 of the students. And the author here really talks about the background, how it all came to that, and how the students got affected, and how the mood of the whole student community in the United States changed after this event. So this is another very interesting book. And then the third book by the same author, it's called Trashed, a graphic novel. So I found this very interesting because here in the United States, trash collection is a process that happens once a week, but not very many of us know what happens after the trash is collected. So in this book, the author, he did a summer job working as a trash collector, and he really explains all the nuts and bolts of how this recycling industry and also the trash collection, and how it's the taken to this dumping place for the trash, and what happens to it over the course of the years, how they really keep compacting them layer after layer of trash, which I found very interesting, and it was actually very well illustrated as well. So these are the 3 books that I recommend by this author. And now coming to the final author that I really wanted I really liked and enjoyed. Again, she hasn't written many books, but she released this book in 2 volumes, and also after some time the book got combined and released it as 1 volume as well. So the author's name is Marjane Satrapi. So she was born in Iran, but I think she emigrated to France, where she lived. But what is more interesting is she grew up in the era of the time when the Islamic Revolution happens. So she really takes us to the the backstage of this world event that we all are aware of, but how the Iranian people's life got changed during that time, and then the duality of the Iranian people at the time as their life or behavior in public versus in private, how starkly it was different, and also Islamic Revolution. We only know about that, but what was the backstory to that, and what other political movements were really against the Shah's monarchy. So this is a beautifully illustrated 2-volume book, but the one I read was the combined volume. It's called the Complete Persepolis. So if you haven't read the Complete Persepolis, I really recommend this. I think it was made into a cartoon movie as well. But again, this is the backstory of the Iranian Revolution from the eyes of the Iranians who were living in the country at that time. Those are the 5 authors that I really wanted to recommend to you guys if you're really interested in reading non-fiction graphic books. I hope my list is interesting to you, and I really wish that you will seek out this book and read them. If you have any comments, or if you think that I've missed any non-fiction authors that you enjoyed, please let me know in the comment, and I will be very glad to go pick it up from the library and read them. I will see you guys in the next video with a similar interesting book recommendation. Until then, you guys have a good one. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.